Hollywood lied for 100 years about who was really dirty in the Old West. Records from American soldiers themselves reveal something embarrassing about Apache women. And number 3 on this list is a secret the cosmetics industry still uses today without telling you where it came from. Here are 17 truths the movies kept hidden. Number 1. Hollywood portrayed the Apache as a savage covered in dust and blood, someone you could smell from miles away. But the truth is almost the exact opposite. Apache camps were set up near rivers and springs for one simple reason: water was part of their daily routine. Bathing every day was the rule whenever water was available. Men, women, and children washed every day, just like people brush their teeth today. Now, compare that with the white settlers of the same time. For them, bathing was a Saturday event, once a week, often with the whole family using the same water in the same tub. While a cavalry soldier spent days in the same sweaty uniform, an Apache woman had already bathed in the river before the sun got hot. At the end of the day, the people who were actually clean on that frontier were not the ones the movies made them out to be. Number 2. In movies, Apache women are always shown with filthy, tangled hair covered in dust, grease, and even dried blood. But reports from American soldiers at the time tell a different story. They were amazed by how shiny and clean these women's hair was. The secret was yucca root, called amole, which releases saponins when crushed in water, compounds that create a lather and clean without drying out the hair. After washing it, they applied plant-based oils that protected their hair from the desert sun. It is the same saponin found today in natural shampoos sold as an innovation on store shelves. Meanwhile, white settlers washed their hair only a few times a year using lard and lye soap that was harsh on the scalp. At the end of the day, the people who were actually clean in the Old West were not the ones Hollywood showed. Number 3. Hollywood showed the Apache covered in dust, as if they had never seen water in their lives. But the reality was different. Apache women went into the sweat lodge week after week as part of their routine, not just for rare ceremonies. Stones heated in the fire, water turning into steam, intense heat. Their pores opened, and the sweat carried dirt and impurities away from the skin. It was a bath and medicine at the same time, as well as a ritual to purify the body and spirit. Compare that with the white settlers of the same time. Bathing once a month was considered enough, and many still believed that too much water caused illness. Modern science proves the Apache right. Steam improves circulation, deep cleans the skin, and helps the body get rid of toxins through sweat. At the end of the day, who was really living dirty in that desert? Number 4. Hollywood portrayed the Apache as a savage with rotten teeth and breath that smelled like rotting meat. But archaeology tells a different story. The Apache cleaned their teeth with creosote twigs, a desert shrub with antibacterial resin. They chewed the end of the twig until it turned into a natural toothbrush and scrubbed each tooth every day. Analyses of skeletal remains show a much lower cavity rate than among white settlers in the same region. It makes sense. The Apache diet had no refined sugar, while settlers lived on sweetened coffee, molasses, and bread, and many did not even own a toothbrush, pulling out teeth with pliers when the pain got too bad. Modern science confirms it. Creosote resin fights the bacteria that cause cavities. In the end, it was the white man who reached 40 with a ruined mouth, and the skeleton does not lie. Number 5. Menstruation was not dirty, it was power. Hollywood portrayed Apache women as filthy creatures, hidden away in a tent like sick animals. The truth is the opposite. When a young Apache girl had her first period, the entire tribe stopped to celebrate. The ritual was the sunrise ceremony, which lasted 4 days. During it, the young woman embodied white-painted woman, a sacred figure of the Apache people. Being secluded during her period was not punishment, it was respect. They believed a woman held so much spiritual power during those days that she needed a space of her own. Now compare that with white women of the same time. Victorian culture treated menstruation like a shameful illness. Doctors told women to hide it, stay quiet, and feel disgusted by their own bodies. While the settler woman suffered in silence, the Apache woman was celebrated. Who was the savage in this story? Number 6. Hollywood showed Apache women with their faces covered in mud as a sign of dirtiness. To settlers, that was proof that they were savages who had never seen clean water. The truth is the opposite. That layer of clay and ochre was sunscreen, natural armor against sunburn. In the middle of the Arizona desert, the mineral pigments applied to their skin blocked the sun's radiation. They created this protection long before any laboratory did. And modern science confirms it. The principle is the same as the zinc oxide mineral sunscreens sold today at any drugstore. Meanwhile, the settlers of that time crossed the same desert without any protection on their skin. No clay, no ochre, nothing between their skin and the sun. They were not dirty. They were protected by the chemistry of the earth itself. Number 7. Settlers saw the skin of Apache women shining with grease and turned up their noses, calling it savage filth. But stop and think. What did that oily layer actually do? Apache women regularly applied animal fat and plant oils to their skin, creating a barrier against the dry wind and desert sun. This prevented cracking and extreme dryness. It was practical skin care, not neglect. Meanwhile, white settlers of the same time barely touched water, and their skin peeled under the same sun. Modern science confirms it. Lipid-based emollients lock in moisture and protect the skin barrier, the same principle behind today's moisturizers. What Hollywood always portrayed as dirt was actually knowledge that dermatology only validated decades later. Number 8. In movies, Apache women are shown as people who never cared about how they smelled, as if hygiene only arrived with the settlers. The real practice was different, and it was part of their daily routine. They rubbed sage and mugwort leaves directly on their skin. The same plants were burned with their clothes, so the smoke would cling to the fabric, and the smell would not come back the next day. This was not decoration or superstition. It was odor control, using what the land of the Southwest provided. Today, science has documented the reason. Sage and mugwort have proven antibacterial properties, which means they targeted the bacteria that cause bad odor, not just the smell itself. On the other side, at the same time, the common practice among white settlers was to cover up the problem with perfume without addressing the cause. One treated the source, the other only masked it. Number 9. Hollywood always portrayed native leather as something dirty, stiff, and primitive, but the truth is the opposite. Apache women tanned hides using a technique called brain tanning. They used the animal's own brain, which is rich in lecithin, to soften the leather. Every animal has enough brain matter to tan its own hide, and the Apache knew this centuries before any laboratory confirmed it. The result was soft, breathable leather that could be washed with water as many times as needed. Truly clean clothing. Meanwhile, white settlers wore wool shirts that could not be washed, and they built up sweat, grease, and lice for months on end. Modern chemistry confirms it. The lecithin in brain matter lubricates the hide's fibers better than many industrial products. Who was primitive after all? Number 10. Hollywood shows the Apache as a people who barely survived in the desert. The truth? Apache women carried water in baskets, and those baskets did not leak a single drop. They wove yucca and willow fibers so tightly that the basket held liquid on its own. Then they sealed everything with piñon resin, known as piñon pitch, melted and spread on the inside. The result was a lightweight, durable canteen that was easy to repair along the way. Now compare that with the white settler. He hauled heavy wooden barrels that cracked in the heat and grew slime inside. For a life on the move, the Apache basket won easily. And modern science confirms it. Pinon resin contains antimicrobial compounds that helped keep the water clean longer. It was not makeshift. It was desert engineering, perfected over generations. Number 11. Hollywood always portrayed the Apache as a people who left open wounds to rot under the desert sun. The truth is that Apache women gathered chaparral, the creosote bush, crushed the leaves, and boiled the resin until it became an ointment for cuts, burns, and bites. This preparation fought infections centuries before any scientist ever saw a bacterium under a microscope. Meanwhile, at the same time, white frontier doctors were still practicing bloodletting, draining blood from patients who were already weak and killing many of them in the process. Modern studies have confirmed what these women already knew in practice. Chaparral has antimicrobial properties proven in the lab. The desert that settlers called dead land was actually an open-air pharmacy. And Apache women were the ones who knew how to read every shelf. Number 12. Hollywood always suggested that tribes got sick because they lived in filth, and that idea stuck for more than a century in movies and books. But what brought down the Apache was not a lack of bathing. It was smallpox, measles, and cholera, diseases that arrived with the colonizers. Those populations had never encountered those viruses before in any generation, so no one had any prior immunity, not the elderly, not the children. When the contagion arrived, it faced no resistance and spread quickly. On the other side, white settlers came from entire generations that had already been exposed to those same diseases, and that changes the entire death toll. Apache mortality had nothing to do with cleanliness, bathing, or their way of life. It had to do with an imported contagion brought in from outside by those who arrived. Number 13. Hollywood portrayed Apache women as being left to fend for themselves after giving birth, but the truth was very different. Among the Apache, there was a complete recovery protocol. The mother went through a structured period of rest, away from heavy work, while the older women took over her care. During that time, she was given medicinal herbs prepared to control bleeding and prevent infection. Meanwhile, white women on the frontier went back to the stove and household chores just a few days after giving birth, often while still weak. It is no coincidence that postpartum fever killed so many settler women at the time. Modern medicine confirms it. Rest and infection control during the first few weeks are exactly what reduce maternal mortality. Apache women knew this centuries before hospitals did. Number 14. In movies, the Apache warrior is shown covered in dust, wearing clothes that were never cleaned. The reality was the opposite, and the women were the ones who took care of it. They hung leather garments outdoors and then smoked them with desert herbs, a process that killed lice, fleas, and parasites, and removed odors trapped in the leather. It was a disinfection method that worked without hot water or caustic soap, two luxuries that were rare in that land. Meanwhile, white settlers of the same time wore the same wool shirt for weeks, and army forts recorded lice outbreaks among soldiers. Modern science confirms they had it right. Smoke from certain plants contains antimicrobial compounds capable of reducing bacteria on fabrics and surfaces. What Hollywood portrayed as backwardness was cleaning technology refined over generations. Number 15. Hollywood showed Apache girls being civilized in boarding schools. The truth is harsher. On the first day, their hair was forcibly cut. For the Apache, hair carried spiritual meaning. Cutting it was an act of mourning reserved for the death of a loved one. The scissors were the first act of violence, a deliberate erasure of identity. Then came the so-called delousing, baths with kerosene and harsh chemicals applied to the girl's skin. There was no confirmed infestation. It was an assumption of filth, institutionalized humiliation, repeated as a routine. The irony? These girls came from communities where people bathed regularly, while many white settlers of the same time went the entire winter without washing. Modern science confirms it. Kerosene on the skin causes burns and poisoning. That was not hygiene, it was erasure. Number 16. Hollywood portrayed Apache women as ignorant people who needed to be civilized. The truth is that every mother carried a living library and taught her daughter which plants cleaned wounds, how yucca root could be turned into soap, and how to care for the body at every stage of life. It was a complete healthcare system, passed down by word of mouth for generations until government boarding schools arrived. Girls were taken from their homes for years, forbidden from speaking their own language, and the chain was broken in a single generation. Meanwhile, white settlers learned about hygiene from manuals that still recommended bathing once a week. The hardest part of this story is that the knowledge destroyed in the name of progress was, in many cases, more advanced than what replaced it, and some of it was lost forever. Number 17. Hollywood portrayed the Apache as dirty savages. But the 21st century laboratory tells a different story. The yucca these women used on their hair? Today, science confirms it, rich in saponins, a natural cleanser. The creosote they applied to wounds? A proven antiseptic and anti-inflammatory. Sage? Antibacterial. The mineral clay on their faces? The same base used in drugstore sunscreens. Meanwhile, the settler who called them dirty bathed once a week, in the same water used by the entire family. The image of the filthy native was not a mistake. It was a useful invention created to justify conquest. Records show women who bathed every day and mastered a pharmacology that the industry now repackages and sells. Modern science did not discover anything. It only confirmed what they already knew.